started.
Okay, Viticos. Let's see, let's start off with e4. And he plays e5, so maybe we get a traditional opening here. Let's go for Ruy Lopez. He plays the main line, not going for the Berlin defense. So castling here, leaving the pawn undefended. It's the main line. Then defending it after he plays bishop e7. Yeah, this is the old main line of the Ruy Lopez. These days everybody seems to play something else. Okay, so now what do I play? He castled first, so he could be setting up for a martial attack. So I can play over here on the queen side. I think that actually slows down the martial attack. If you don't play the move c3, then you have knight to c3 to come back and defend the center. So it takes the sting out of the martial attack. So he goes there. Now I don't want to play c3 or d3. Yeah, let's just go d3. And I get this bishop into the game somehow. Bishop, nah, that pawn on b5 is well supported, so bishop to d2 is there's no point in playing bishop d2. Could play bishop e3, but then his knight would come here, so I'll do the same thing. I'll play h3 so that I can play bishop to e3. And we'll watch how this game evolves from here. So we got the slow setup with the Ruy Lopez. He's going to have to push that d-pawn forward at some point. Well, is that true? He could play bishop to b7. That's another way to develop that bishop. And my plan is to play bishop to e3. And then knight to d2 to either c4 over here, f1, g3, that kind of thing. So now he goes there, so let's take. And he's hitting my bishop. I could take it, and queen takes. Could let him take here. I could take with the rook. That looks active to me. He'll get the bishop pair, but I'll get some compensation. After knight takes bishop, rook takes. He can harass the rook with the bishop here, but the rook can drop back to e2. And I have pressure on that e-pawn. So he has to pause to defend it at some point. Not right away, apparently. Okay, so it's defended. The queen and the knight defend the e-pawn. He's looking indirectly at f2. I have knight to e4, forking the queen and the bishop. So the queen would have to drop back to e2. e7, rather. So knight e4, queen e7. Could take the bishop off. That's probably good to get rid of that bishop. Now, after I exchange and queen takes, and I play queen e1, attacking the pawn. If he defends with the rook, can I bring that pawn forward? Knight takes. No, I can't. Is there any way to get pressure on the... Well, I could line up here first. My queen behind the rook threatened to take the bishop and then grab the pawn. He could play rook to e5 He can play rook there. Okay, but he just moved his bishop, so he decided not to give up the bishop. So what now? Is there a way for me to get another piece looking at f7? The f7 pawn is pinned. Knight here is not working. Pawn takes. Even sacrificing the queen is still covering that square. Does not work. Pawn to d4 might be interesting. Maybe, but it doesn't work right away because he's got the knight and the bishop on it, so he doesn't have to take with the pawn. But if I had this move in, c3, threatening d4. So one thing about this position is that he's allowed me to keep my bishop on this good diagonal. He didn't chase it away like they often do. But that's interesting. So he put his bishop there. Okay, I want to unpin that pawn and defend it. So let's do that. Can I still play d4? Maybe not. d4, knight takes. Well, the queen is undefended at the end of all that, so let's think about this. d4, if the pawn takes. Oh, I have to move this knight with tempo, and I don't have a good way to do that, do I? And he is kind of threatening to take that guy. So let's double. Okay, just moved his king. So now what happens after d4? Pawn takes, knight takes, bishop takes, rook takes, rook takes. Yes, I can do that. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So after the exchange of pawns, yeah, I'm supporting the pawn with 3 pieces. My queen is defending the knight. So I think I can play that. So, complicated position here. Maybe I can get in knight c4 with the pawn there. Knight c5. Once again hitting the bishop and the queen. Maybe provoke a trade. And then focus on the e-pawn again. Black is well developed here too, so I don't see any big problems with Black's setup, except maybe his his pieces are away from the king a little bit. All the minor pieces are over here on the queen side. So if there was a way to organize my pieces into a king side attack, that might be interesting. Okay, so I think I should take with the pawn here. Yeah, so does he want to trade queens? Is that his idea? Knight to c4 is what I want to play anyway. Queen takes, rook takes. Then can he take this pawn? Bishop takes, pawn takes. I get to keep the pawn. Rook takes, knight takes. Or rook takes. No, the rook is over here because I exchanged first, so I can draw my knight away. Or with the knight there, he's attacking it with the rook and knight. He can take that pawn. He can take his bishop. I think I can play this. It is, like I say, complicated. But his bishop is hanging. And the queens are facing off here. His knight is defending his queen. So I was expecting he would just take my queen.
check.
And he did. Okay. And now I was trying to figure out if this pawn is safe. It's attacked twice and defended twice, but my knight is hanging. So he just takes. Okay, and then he can take my rook here. He can trade rooks. Yeah, I guess this all comes out about even. I don't see any big advantage here. But I have a loose bishop here. Maybe he can exploit that in some way. So maybe he had knight takes d4 at some point. Hitting my loose bishop and undefending my knight. Hard to say. Okay, Viticus 12. What's the move? Retreats his bishop. Okay, so he's not anxious to trade further. He wants to keep material on. Not a bad decision. And can I do something here? Like pinning the knight. If I play bishop to d, bishop to d5, he takes, I take. Can he? Yeah, I think that's a good pin. I don't think he can easily gang up on that. And then maybe I can follow up with more pressure, bring the knight in. Here's an idea. I take the bishop and the knight. I take the knight, and if he takes my rook, then I'll take his bishop. So that's 2 pieces for a rook. And then if he doesn't, then I will play knight to, if he takes back, it doesn't quite work. I wanted to get a knight to e5 to g6 with tempo, forking the king and the rook. But the fact that his rook can always exchange itself for my rook on d2 interferes with that idea. See, I mean, the thing is that knight to knight to d5 here. e5. Let's see. So I take. He takes the rook. I take the bishop. He takes. So I take the knight. He takes the rook. I take the bishop. He can take the bishop, or he can retreat his rook. Say he takes the bishop. Well, if he retreats the rook, I retreat my bishop, and I'm 2 pieces down. So say he takes the bishop, and I take the rook, which is hanging, and I'm a piece up. I'll have a rook and a knight, and he will just have a rook. So I think this forces him to take back with the bishop. Now the question is, can I play knight to e5? Knight e5 hits the bishop, and he takes the rook. I play the check. His king moves. Take the rook. Yeah, I guess that loses. And if I exchange first, that's what I do. I exchange first. And then I play here, hitting the bishop. And he has to move the bishop. And then I have this check. He has to move the bishop to, yeah, he can move the bishop to d5 there. Bishop d5 would protect f7. So the tactic did not quite work. So if I try to pin the bishop, does that help? He can just defend it with a pawn. No, I can't, because I can take it. So if I attack the bishop, what does he do? If he defends it with the pawn, I will take the pawn. If he moves the bishop, I take the rook. He can move the king, I guess. The threat is knight to f7 again. Bishop takes, and then rook takes rook. Or king moves and knight takes rook. But if he moves the king, maybe just moving the king, getting away from the check, and he's okay. Yep. Okay, so here, again, he can't take the knight, and I'm threatening a check here. It's tricky stuff, but he seems to be defending it well. I think he can just play king to f1 or rook there. Does that work? That does not work, because now I can take the bishop. And if he takes, then I have the fork on e7. So those little tactical tricks have paid off at the end. Let's see if he finds a way out. He was playing pretty well.
Black resigns.
Okay, didn't see anything. Okay, cute game. I will upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.